The movie begins with Alex and his wife, Margot, celebrating at a house party in a French suburb with their family. The next morning, the couple drives to a quiet lake called Lake Charmaine, which they used to frequent as children. We may observe that M+A has been carved into a tree there. The tree already has multiple slashes, and Margot uses her pocket knife to add one more. Spoiler ahead, watch out! The couple then strips off and jumps over the lake to swim. After enjoying themselves for the entire day, they rest down at the dock. Here, Margot encourages Alex to make contact with his sister and questions him about why he is distanced from her. However, he is unwilling to talk about it, which sparks an argument between them. Margot swims to the shore. All of a sudden, when Alex hears her screaming, he panics and hurries to find her. Unfortunately, as soon as he gets to the shore, someone strikes him in the head, knocking him down. The scene immediately moves to 8 years later, where Alex has become a pediatrician. It turns out that Margot has died since the lake incident, but he remains distraught and unwilling to move forward. Alex is at the moment checking on a patient when he hears disturbances outside and decides to investigate. A local criminal named Bruno has come to get his son treated, and he refuses to see anyone except Alex. He calms Bruno and quickly takes his son for a checkup. Thereafter, during his lunch break, Alex encounters Helene, a lady who is both his close friend and his sister's partner. He informs her that he intends to see Margot's mother shortly afterward, as her death anniversary is close by. Helene gets upset by this and tells him to move on from Margot since it has already taken 8 years. Later, when Alex goes back to his workplace, he receives an email with the subject M+A and multiple slash marks. The email includes a link, but the man is unable to access it. Then his assistant arrives and notifies him that a police officer wishes to meet him. In the following scene, Alex visits his sister Annie, who is horseback riding. Afterward, the two meet a police officer. The officer informs them that as they were digging near Lake Charmaine, 2 male remains were discovered in the forest. The guys are unidentifiable, so they need the brothers or sisters' approval to continue excavating on the family's property. The officer goes on to say that they discovered a baseball bat with the victims that contained type B positive blood, which is an uncommon blood type Alex possesses. Alex was previously cleared of Margot's murder when the incident became related to a serial killer who solely targets women. However, it does not make sense that Alex was knocked unconscious down the water and then discovered lying on the docks, or who placed the anonymous 911 call. As a result, the police officer asked for a DNA test from Alex in order to conduct further investigations. Alex gets angered and cannot believe he is being suspected of murdering his wife. The following day is the death anniversary of Margot, and Alex feels distressed and lonely. He opens his email once more and clicks on the previous link, which is now accessible. That revealed out to be a CCTV camera positioned at a shopping mall. When watching, he is shocked to see a lady who looks like Margot in the video. She looks at him with a disturbed expression before leaving. A second email arrives at this time, containing the username and password needed for an email account, along with a warning to Alex not to disclose it to anybody since they are keeping track of her every action. That afternoon, Alex heads to see Margot's parents. He speaks with Margot's father, who is the main officer in handling Margot's case. Alex questions him about how he identified his daughter's body and whether her face was clearly seen. Margot's father reports her face was injured, but he still recognized her. Alex keeps asking him more questions, but ultimately his father-in-law becomes so angry and outraged that he demands Alex to leave. In the evening, Alex rushes straight to Helene's residence and shows her the email from the CCTV footage. Helene worries about where the location could be, but he insists it is not in France since it remains daytime. Then Anne competes in an equestrian competition sponsored by a wealthy individual named Gilbert Neuville. The occasion honors his son, Philippe Neuville, an equestrian who died 8 years ago. After 8 years, Alex is still perplexed and keeps watching the footage after he gets back home. Meanwhile, in a different spot, Bernard and his partner are looking at the same footage. It appears to be that they have hacked Alex's computer and are tracking every email he receives. The next day, while driving to work, Alex is approached by a detective named Levkowicz, who seeks to question him. The detective inquires if he had the habit of beating his late wife and shows him images of Margot with severe bruises all over her body, but Alex claims that he had never hurt her. Later, Alex meets with a well-known attorney named Elizabeth, who has been contacted by Helen. He speaks to her about the pictures the cops showed him and says that he never assaulted his wife. Alex also mentions that Margot was faced with a major vehicle accident and indicates that she may have taken those photos for her insurance claim. Alex then heads to meet Charlotte, a photographer who was once Margot's closest companion. He inquires whether she took the bruised photos, but Charlotte rejects it. He then asks about the accident because Charlotte was with Margot that day, but she says there was no accident that occurred. Margot just stood up wounded, and Margot requested her to claim she was in an accident alongside her. Alex is taken surprised by what he has heard. When Alex returns to his residence, he searches through Margot's old boxes and discovers her daily planner dated 8 years ago. There, he observes an appointment with the initials PF. When he phones the number, a woman responds as Pierre Ferreau, a lawyer who is not present in the office. Meanwhile, Detective Levkowitz and his partner meet with Margot's parents and show them assaulted images of their daughter. They believe Alex is behind it. However, Detective Levkowitz believes Alex may have murdered Margot to obtain a £200,000 life insurance settlement. They are confused with regard to how he arrived at the shore if he ended up unconscious. The detective reveals that these images were discovered in a safe deposit box in the name of the woman, with the key found in the pocket of one of the murdered men discovered at the lake. The discussion makes Margot's dad shocked. That evening, Bernard and a female attacker approach Charlotte inside her studio. They attack her and request details about Margot's location. Meanwhile, Alex is at home alongside Helene, attempting to access the webmail account via the username and password given to him in the last email. This does not work, however. They eventually discover that Alex's computer has been hacked by somebody else. Bernard and his partner, on the other hand, eventually kill Charlotte when they realize she knows nothing. Later that night, while strolling his dog, Alex instantly strikes across an idea. So he goes to a cyber cafe and uses a different account from that which is on his email, and it actually works. Margot had requested him to meet her at a park near the bandstand at 5 p.m. the next day in an email. This makes him really happy, given that he believes that his wife is surely alive. The following morning, Alex meets with a coroner to review Margot's autopsy results. He was unconscious in the hospital when his wife died, meaning he was unable to observe her dead body. The coroner informs Alex that the records files will not be present here, so he makes an official request to examine them. Meanwhile, the cops locate Charlotte's dead body, and her employee reveals that she had last been seen with Alex prior to her death. With this information in hand, the cops rush inside Alex's apartment, where they discover gloves in the garbage can and a revolver strapped to the back of a desk. Seeing this, they decide that he is the murderer and proceed to his office to capture him. However, when Alex is in his office, lawyer Elizabeth calls to let him know that Charlotte has been murdered and that the police are on their way to arrest him for the murder. As a result, he panics and starts to leave since he wants to meet Margot today. The officers notice him running and start chasing him. Fortunately, Alex escapes himself and hides in a garbage can. After the cops leave, he calls Bruno and asks for assistance. Bruno rushes to assist him, feeling grateful to Alex for protecting his son's life. After that, the two travel to the office of Pierre Ferreau, the lawyer whose phone number Margot had in her day planner. Alex asks him about his relationship with Margot. Pierre acknowledges that he represented an area thug named Helio Gonzalez, who was suspected of murdering Philippe Neuville. Margot came out as Helio, the suspect's alibi, on the night of Philippe's murder, claiming to be counseling him. She initially said she was professionally counseling Helio, but then acknowledged they had been engaging in an affair for 2 months, and Alex can't believe his wife cheated on him. Later, he and Bruno follow Helio and question him about his relationship with Margot, to which Helio talks about having a relationship with Margot. Alex then lies, claiming that it is not true because she was present with him the night Philippe Neuville was killed. He claims he can prove it in court and threatens Helio with imprisonment. Feeling frightened, Helio acknowledges that he did not have a romantic relationship with her and didn't murder Philippe. Margot just helped him get out of the murder charges. Later, about 5 p.m., Alex arrives in the park to meet Margot. However, unnoticed by him, Bernard and his companions are also present to apprehend. Shortly after, we see Margot come wearing sunglasses, but she spots the killers waiting for her. This scares her, so she chooses to depart before meeting Alex. During this, Alex sees her and tries to follow her. Unfortunately, he is quickly apprehended by Bernard's crew. The criminals force him into a van, where they start torturing him. The female attacker demands to know Margot's location from Alex, who declares he has no idea. However, at the right time, Bruno comes just in time to murder murder two of the thugs. Meanwhile, Detective Levkowicz travels to the morgue to obtain Margot's autopsy reports. However, when examining the report, he learns that Alex has booked a flight to Argentina that would depart in a few hours. In another scenario, Bernard meets his supervisor, who happens to be Gilbert Neuville. Gilbert Neuville suggests he can't accept his son's death when his killer, Margot, could possibly be alive. So he tells Bernard to track down her as quickly as possible and bring an ending to her life. Elsewhere, the police rush to the airport to catch Alex, but they discover that the flight was booked by Margot, who has reserved 2 seats. They hurried to catch her before she boarded the flight. At the same time, Margot is at the boarding gate when she accidentally discovers on TV that her best friend Charlotte was killed and that her husband is the leading suspect. She changes her mind and chooses to help her husband escape the situation, fleeing the airport before the cops arrive. Then Alex contacts Elizabeth and tells her that he has proof that he did not kill Charlotte. At the same time, Detective Levkowicz meets with Helene and insists that he knows Alex did not murder his wife. He presents her the autopsy report, which reveals that Margot's images have been eliminated from all of the files. When Helene returns home, Anne eventually explains to her that she is the one who took the scarred photos of Margot and that Philippe Neuville attacked her. Anne apologizes sorrowfully, explaining that Margot had requested her not to. The following day, Anne confesses everything to her brother. Detective Levkowicz also arrives and presents him with the autopsy report. As Alex examines it, he is surprised to realize that the dead woman is much taller than Margot. In the following scenario, Alex resolves to meet with his father-in-law, but when he arrives at the residence, Margot's father pulls him at gunpoint and orders him to sit down. He then discloses that 2 months prior to the lake incident, a youngster from the Neuville Foundation orphanage approached Margot and told her that Philippe Neuville had assaulted the children there. Margot invited Philippe to her home to confront him about his behavior. Her father was standing outside the door waiting for Philippe to confess before arresting him, but instead, Philippe grew angry and began severely hitting her. The father did not like having her daughter beaten up, so he killed Philippe with a shotgun. The father then disposed of the body in order to implicate Helio Gonzalez, a gangster who lived in the children's trust home. However, Margot is opposed to letting Helio take responsibility for something he isn't responsible for, so she makes an alibi to help the man. She then put the images of herself beaten up in a safe deposit box and contacted Gilbert to inform him that she had criminal proof against his son, Philippe. Gilbert suspected her of murdering Philippe and hired 2 men to murder her that night at the lake. However, Margot's father expected Gilbert's actions and arrived to shoot the 2 goons, saving his daughter. He then buries their bodies, saves lifeless Alex from the waters, and places him on the shore. After looking for a dead body, he discovered a stabbed junkie woman. He dropped the body 100 kilometers away, damaged her face, and put Margot's ring onto her finger in order to make it appear like her. He also told Margot that Alex had died in order to prevent her from returning, sent her to Spain, and haven't contacted her since. Margot's father hands Alex an envelope carrying specific information about every crime Gilbert has committed. Alex's father discovered Philippe's mistreatment of children and filed a complaint against him, which Margot's father drafted. Because of this, Gilbert, who was so powerful, just ripped the complaint apart and killed Alex's father in a stage hunting incident. Meanwhile, the police arrive and arrest the offender. Alex leaves the house with Gilbert's crime envelope while Margot's father kills himself. In the aftermath, Gilbert is finally arrested for the crimes he carried out over the course of time. Meanwhile, Alex drives to the lake. It comes out that Margot took the firearm and killed Philippe. To protect his daughter, Margot's father carried the responsibility and even gave his life. When Alex arrives at the lake, he can't fight back his tears as he stands by the tree on which they stamped their initials. Margot appears from the bushes, and when he hears her footsteps, he falls on his knees. After 8 years of being separated from one another, they have finally rejoined at their favorite place. We really hope you enjoyed today's recap of the movie Tell No One. Please leave a comment below on what you loved about the movie and why. Be sure to like the video, and please don't forget to support our channel by subscribing so you don't miss any amazing content. Until next time, light, camera, action. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.